So I'm going to be doing a couple of different mods on the Jeep. And voiceover editing Gracia here. I apologize, but for some reason, the first part of this video, or this section here of me explaining what I actually have, the volume goes up and down. So something is wrong with the microphone on my iPhone. So until I figure it out, this is where we're at. So basically what I'm saying here is that I got the Xprite 10-pack rock lights from Amazon. It cost $95. I bought one extension. I ended up buying 3 more. Spoiler. But I bought one extension, and the rock lights come with the 10 rock lights, a remote, a button control, a key fob, some zip ties, some bolts, and some bumper pad things that go on the back of the rock lights. But yeah, I'm also explaining that I am not going to do the install the traditional way because I have metal fenders and I do not want to screw holes into that. So stick around to see how I'm going to install my rock lights. So I have metal fenders. And then down here I have these plastic, I don't know, engine cover protector flap thingy majigs. I'm sure they have an actual name. And so I can't mount them here. I don't want to drill holes into my fenders, but my fenders do have, I'll clean all this before I do it, but they have these brackets or these braces. There's one here, and then one over there. And I'm gonna grab one really quick and just kind of give a general idea about what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is somehow, that might be a problem, but somehow getting them up here and then just taking zip ties or something a little more sturdy and getting them to stay up on these. Sort of like that. And like that. And then on the back, they have two. So there's one here and one here. So I'm gonna do 2 lights on the back tires, the back fenders, and then 3 on the front. So that's my plan. Is it crazy? I don't know. But I guess I'm gonna find out. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to first disconnect all of these lights from the main cord, which might be a mistake, but that's where I'm starting. All right, I'm gonna start here with this back tire. I don't know if I'm actually gonna be able to do this by myself, but I'm gonna give it a try. So I'm going to just pull this fender panel thing off. I guess I could screw some holes in here also to run the wiring, but there's already a gap in here, so I'm just gonna pull this out like this. Okay, so change of plans. Adam brought me out some really heavy duty double-sided tape, and he told me just to stick them up high here because he thought right here they would probably get hit by the tires or something. They would have been knocked off. So he suggested to use that double-sided tape up here. And I wanted to make sure that it would work before I actually did all of them. And I'm pulling on these things pretty darn hard and they're not coming off. So it's going to be a temporary, maybe permanent, I don't know, last a year, I don't know, way to mount these for now. Granted, it's not ideal. It's not how you're supposed to do it, but that's okay. This is how I'm choosing to do it again. And then I'm probably just going to take a little bit of the cord slack and I will zip tie the cord around this bracket right here. So that way, in case this does come loose, that it'll at least be still stuck up in there. And it shouldn't get terribly ruined. At least that's the idea. So I'm gonna go ahead and go around to all 4, mount them up just the same exact way. And then I'm gonna get underneath and just pull all the wires, and I'll take you to that step when we get to it. Oh, and I am using this glass cleaner to clean. I went ahead and rinsed the dirt off earlier when I thought I was just going to mount them up there. But now I am taking this glass cleaner and cleaning underneath here really well so that the double-sided tape can stick pretty good up there. So let's get to the rest of these. All right, when I'm doing this, I am making sure that the wire is going into this little notch right here, and then that is tucked in there really good. And then I am facing the little notch and the wire towards the inside of the Jeep, so that way the wire is facing that way and it's not kinking. Okay, because this front fender has 3 brackets, that's why I got the 10 pack, because I was originally going to put them here on these brackets. I'm going to still put 3 up here, and it may be quite overkill, but I have them, so I'm going to use them. So I'm going to put 1 here, 1 in the center, and then 1 right in here before it curves down. Maybe I'll go here, here, and here, because this section right here doesn't have enough contact. So I might go here, here, and here. Again, overkill, I know, but oh well. Okay, so the next thing that I have to do is get underneath the Jeep and figure out all of this wiring. I love starting jobs. I just hate finishing jobs. so I'm kind of burnt out on this already, but that's okay. I'm gonna get it done, I think. I don't know if I'll get it done today, but I'm gonna get it done. I just don't know when. So I'm gonna get myself underneath this Jeep here and decide what I'm gonna do with the wires. All right, so this is the back of the Jeep, and you can see the wires here are just kind of hanging. I gotta figure out a way to get these all the way up there, and then the ones on the other side as well. So yeah, I'm over it. Just kidding. All right, actually what I'm going to do first is I'm going to zip tie the wire to this, just in case if anything happens, it doesn't go dragging on the ground. Not that it will, but you know. So here are the wires. I think, let's see. I think I might start with a zip tie here and just keep going all the way down and zip tie over there. Let's see if that works. I could go all the way up to this one up here, but I think I'm going to leave this and do the other side because one of the wires is just... How do I block the sun? Ever so short, and I just want to make sure it does have the connector, but I just want to make sure that the connector is going to be long enough. So for now, I'm just going to leave that. That bird sounds awesome. Makes really cool sounds. Yes, bird, we hear ya. Okay, the other side is different, but it's not different in the way of having the same rock slider on the other side. So I'm just gonna do the same damn thing on this side. So as you can see, here are the wires. Now, I think, I'm not really sure because I don't want to zip tie to any moving parts. So I know that I'm going to zip tie to this here, but I'm going to leave some slack just in case if there's another way to kind of get this out of the way. Like that might actually work. And then come here. So it's actually, the wire is actually sitting, there's a cover that's covering this thing here. And so that might be a good place to kind of get it up and out of the way. And then bring it through here. But I'm going to just leave some slack so that if that's what I want to do, there's room for that. And I'm just going to get to tying this stuff up. And again for this one, as you can tell, one of the wires is definitely a lot shorter. So I'm just going to leave those out because I may be coming in-house in this way somehow or another and then connecting all these wires so that they can reach up to the engine. Okay, so I don't know what I'm gonna do for the front because, well, it's at the front and I am not sure how this whole thing is gonna come together. So I'm just gonna leave these ones. Every step that I do take, I am consulting my husband just because I don't want to mess anything up. I want to make sure that, you know, even though I'm not doing it the traditional way of doing the rock sliders, I want to make sure that it's going to last and it's going to look good. So it might not be ideal, but I'm still trying my best to make sure that it's going to be what I want. So I've already done the back lights. I've kind of strung those up and I did all the wiring for those. I'm going to leave the front just because I'm not sure how I'm going to do all that when it comes to wiring everything. I do know that I have to somehow, and I don't know how yet, but I have to somehow get the button that turns everything on and off into the cab of the Jeep. So this is the last piece here. This is like the whole wiring harness, and it does come apart here, which I may take it apart just to get the main component wired, which is like this whole section here, because the red and black goes to the battery somehow. That's your power source, and then this is your on off, and I think this section here is the piece that needs to make it into the cab of the Jeep. So if you come over here and you climb up here, if you look, if I can do this without falling, but if you look right down in here, there is like a hole that has some felt, and there's a hole that you can stick wires through. So I'm thinking that right there, that right there is where I'm gonna shove that little button thing, and hopefully that will make it into the cab of the Jeep somehow or another, and then the rest of the stuff we can figure out. I'm going to take this little button part and somehow shove it I don't know. All right. I got it in there, but I don't know where it's going. So I'm just going to keep feeding the wire. So it's a little blurry, but you can see that the wire is actually fed through that area right there. So I'm not sure where it goes. So I'm going to take a peek, maybe under the Jeep, which I don't. No, that's not where it goes. Okay, so now, all right, my battery's dying, so I'm just going to look really quick to see if I can see. Oh, look, it came through. It's right here. That's freaking cool. Okay. Okay, well, I feel very accomplished about that. Yes, I have a dirty Jeep. That is a good feeling. So this is my front driver's side tire here, and the wires are just kind of hanging out here. So I want to get these wires up into here. You can see I have part of one here, but I want to get all three of them up into here so that way I can guide them over that way because my battery is over there. No, I think I messed up. I actually think what I was supposed to do, instead of pulling them up through the engine right now, I was going to connect the wires and then I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, before I pull the rest of the wires up through the engine, I am going to get back underneath the Jeep and connect the back wires to the connector box to see how much room I have once that's connected to get up into the engine. So that's what I'm gonna do. And of course, I think the sun is gonna probably be right in my face, so it should be a good time. Okay, this is where all of the wires connect to. So I need to get all of the wires that I've already wired from the back up to somehow connect. I wish I could get up in. Oh, I can. So I don't know if you can see, but the wires are here. And I'm going to get them up here to run along with whatever wiring is going on here. So I'm going to try and follow this line of wiring here and then get it back to the center. All right, so I don't know how I'm going to get them to connect in the middle without having the wires sit on something that could potentially get hot. But I've got to figure something out and not have the wires just kind of hanging, because that just doesn't seem right. So for now, I'm just going to connect these up here like this because I'm not going to finish this anyways. And I'm just going to sort of tuck them up here for the night until I can figure out what it is I really want to do with this mess. Because I just don't know at this point. But I'm sure I'll figure it out, so. All right. Here we are the next morning, and I am just going to get started on this thing. It is much cooler today, so hopefully I will be able to get it completed. I have no choice really because I need to drive this thing, and I can't drive it with wires. I will say yesterday I pulled the driver's side wires up into the engine, and I actually need to take those back down because the extension is not long enough, or the cord is not long enough. So I have to connect all the cords basically. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to connect all the cords and figure out a way of mounting it all without it being in the way. Okay, I'm sure that this video is probably all over the place at this point, but that's because I've encountered a snafu. And so what's going to happen is I had to order 3 more extensions so that I could have them run all the way. I can have the wires run all the way along here and then up this way. Right now they are only long enough to reach right there. And I don't want the wires underneath the Jeep just kind of willy-nilly up there. So I'm going to get the extenders, and then I'm going to have the bulk of the wires underneath the hood, which I don't really like that idea either, but that's what I'm going to do. Those are not going to be here for 2 days. So what I am going to do is I did buy electrical tape, and I am just going to take all the wiring back out for the most part up to about this point here. And this is the back tire. And I'm just going to start wrapping the wires together all the way. And then I'm going to re-thread it through. I left the zip ties down here pretty loose so that I could adjust it as needed. I do need to be able to drive my Jeep. So I'm going to get it to where that it's drivable and the wires aren't going to get ruined or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the electrical tape. Now, before everybody comes for me, I know that there's an easier way to do this because I like to make my life difficult. I know I could have just bought that corrugated tubing and just slipped it right over it, but first I'm going to rewire this to where I want it to go and get it tucked up out of the way. All right, hopefully it's not too windy, but I just got the extension cables for my rock lights, and this should be a pretty easy process and quick because everything else is done. So I just need to get in here and underneath there and put the cables on, and then I'm going to wire it all up so that it can be ready to be plugged in and turned on. I think that's the last step, is just getting this done, wired up, zip tied basically, and then we'll get it hooked up to the battery. I bought 3 of these. These are the Xprite 6.5 foot extension. You need 4 of these if you have the 4-door. If you want your wiring to go all the way up here and you want your connector box up in your engine as well. Otherwise, it's just going to be somewhere underneath the car. So I'm going to get to putting these in really quick and then maybe move on to the next step. Might have to wait because it's definitely going to start raining. Shit. All right, now that I've got it wired back here, I'm just going to run it along this back area here, and I'm going to zip tie on that corrugated plastic right there, and then everything's going to kind of fit right in there. So now all that's left to do is connect all of these to all of those, and then after that it should be ready to attach to the battery. Tucked all the wires in this little pocket area right here. I zip tied them together and they're just kind of tucked in there, and then I went through and tightened all the zip ties here. I am going to go back through underneath and zip tie any loose ends under there, and then this next part I'm going to have Adam do because he's got to do something to get it to connect to the battery. And then after that, I guess we wait till it gets dark to see if it works. If it doesn't, I'm not gonna be happy.
It means that we don't have to worry about hooking it up to the fuse box or if it's any short.
Oh, is the fuse in the red wire?
It'll blow this right here.
Oh. They are? What? What?
will fill your battery.
I know. Ignore the dirt. The last thing that I have to do is taking that and mounting it up here. I am so beyond proud of myself. I cannot believe I actually did it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. I'm gonna go ahead and mount that right there. All right, so to sum up the rock light install, basically I was going to zip tie them to the underside of my fenders. I have metal fenders and they have the brackets or braces, I think that's what they are, on the underside, and I was going to zip tie them. When I started doing that though, I did not like the way that it looked. I didn't like the way that it was being held. It did not feel very secure, and I overall just didn't like it. So my husband suggested doing double-sided tape. He has some heavy duty stuff and that's what I used. And I'm going to tell you, it's working. So far, so good. It's been a week. I live on a dirt road, so it's about a half-mile one way in, one way out. And I went and did some off-roading yesterday. And the rock lights, dirty because I went off-roading. But the rock lights are, let's see, are still on there, holding strong. So yeah, I'm not mad about it. Like I said, I didn't want to drill holes in my metal fenders, so that's why I did double-sided tape. I will say that for some reason there is one of the rock lights that just does not want to stick. It's sticking so far, like it's fine, but it's the same spot. So I've had to replace the double-sided tape once already. But once I replaced it, it's in there, but it's kind of loose compared to all the other ones. And that is this one right here. I mean, it's up there. It's not going anywhere, but yeah, I'm gonna have to replace that. And I also zip tied just a little bit of slack cord to these brackets right here. So that way, in case the double-sided tape does fail, the rock light's not just gonna be, you know, running against my tie or anything. It's just gonna be held up by zip tie. So I did that all the way around. On the inside, I zip tied the wires here and just followed this wiring here all the way from that side over there to here. And then this is just where all the extra wire is. It is zip tied together, so it's just kind of stuffed in there. If in the event that these do start failing, I am going to get some sort of like epoxy or plastic to metal bond, and then I'm just going to start bonding them up to the fender. And again, I got the Xprite 10 pack off of Amazon. They were $95. I had to get 4 of the extension cables because the wires just aren't long enough so that I could run the wires all the way up into my engine. So I would definitely recommend getting the extensions. I only bought one originally because I thought that I only had to extend the one wire, but in fact I had to extend the 4 back lights, which those were another $8.99 I think each. So the rock lights cost me $100 and I don't know, $20 or something, and I installed myself. The install was actually pretty straightforward and simple. If I had to do it again, I think it would take a lot less time because I kind of know what I'm doing now. So, but with that being said, if you have any questions, leave them down below, and I will be sure to answer them as best as I can. We'll see how long these puppies last. So thank you so much, and I will see you next time. it's a potty. Maybe like you can custom